My 6-year-old son, Dexter, stood there holding his tablet while my father-in-law, Vernon's face drained of all color. "Grandpa, should I show everyone the videos from your bedroom camera?" The entire family went silent. You could hear the grandfather clock ticking in the hallway, each second stretching like an eternity. I'm Nadine, and if you'd told me that Christmas morning would end with my father-in-law's complete destruction, I would have said you were crazy. But sometimes the smallest hands reveal the biggest secrets. Let me back up just 60 seconds. We were all gathered in Vernon's massive living room, the one with the vaulted ceilings and the oil painting of him shaking hands with the governor. My husband Colton was standing next to his father, both of them tall and broad-shouldered, though Colton had kindness in his eyes that Vernon never possessed. Vernon had just finished his grand speech about how I'd ruined his son's life, how I'd poisoned Colton against his real family. "You're nothing but a small-town nobody who trapped my son," Vernon had said, his finger pointing at me like a weapon. "Colton was destined for greatness until you came along." The rest of the family had been nodding along like puppets. My mother-in-law, Loretta, sat in her cream-colored armchair, her perfectly manicured nails gripping the armrests as she added her own venom. Some women just destroy everything they touch. They're like cancer, spreading through families and rotting them from the inside. My sister-in-law, Bridget, had actually smirked at that comment. She stood by the fireplace in her designer dress, looking satisfied that someone was finally saying what she'd been thinking for 5 years. "Dad's right, Colton. Ever since you married her, you've changed. You never come to family functions anymore. You missed the charity gala. You even turned down that promotion." That promotion meant moving to London and leaving Nadine's dying mother behind, Colton had defended, but his voice was drowned out by his younger brother, Garrett. Garrett was the baby of the family at 31, still living off his trust fund and Vernon's connections. "Face it, brother, she's got you whipped. The old Colton would never choose some teacher over his own blood." That's when Vernon delivered his ultimatum. "Get out of my house, Nadine. Pack your things and leave. Colton, you can stay if you finally come to your senses and leave this parasite behind." The word parasite hung in the air like a slap. I felt my cheeks burn, not from shame, but from rage. 5 years of trying to fit into this family, 5 years of smiling through their condescension, their barely veiled insults, their constant reminders that I wasn't good enough for their precious son. I stood up, ready to gather my dignity and leave, when Dexter's small voice cut through the tension. "But Grandpa, you're being mean to Mommy." Vernon turned his cold gray eyes on my son. "Your mother needs to learn her, place boy. Someday you'll understand that family comes first." "Is that why you had that lady in your bedroom when Grandma was gone?" The room froze. It was like someone had pressed pause on reality itself. Vernon's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Loretta's perfectly composed face cracked with confusion. "What lady, sweetheart?" I asked, though my maternal instincts were screaming that something significant was about to happen. Dexter held up his tablet, the one we'd given him for Christmas with educational apps and parental controls. "The pretty lady with red hair. I saw her on the camera app when I was trying to watch the birds in Grandpa's garden. She comes over when Grandma goes to her book club." Vernon lunged forward. "Give me that tablet right now." But Colton stepped between his father and our son, his protective instincts kicking in. "Dad, what is he talking about?" "The boy doesn't know what he saw. He's making things up." Dexter's face scrunched up the way it did when someone accused him of lying. "I'm not making it up. I have videos. She has a butterfly tattoo on her shoulder and she was bouncing on Grandpa's bed with him. They were naked like when people take baths." Loretta stood up so fast her coffee cup crashed to the floor, spreading dark liquid across the Persian rug. "Vernon, what is he talking about?" That's when my innocent, technology-loving, bird-watching 6-year-old son held up his tablet and asked the question that would shatter the Brennan family's perfect facade forever. "Grandpa, should I show everyone the videos from your bedroom camera?" Vernon's face wasn't just white anymore. It was the color of old bones, of secrets exposed to sunlight, of a man watching his carefully constructed life crumble in the hands of a kindergartner. Christmas morning at the Brennan estate should have been perfect. The 12-foot Fraser fir dominated the living room corner, decorated with crystal ornaments Vernon had collected from business trips to Vienna, Prague, and Milan. Each piece was worth more than my monthly teaching salary, a fact Loretta loved to mention whenever I accidentally got too close to the tree. The house smelled like cinnamon and pine, with undertones of Loretta's signature French perfume that cost $800 a bottle. I'd been awake since 5, not because of excitement, but because of anxiety. Every visit to Vernon's house felt like preparing for battle. I needed my armor of perfect makeup, the right outfit that said, respectable but not trying too hard, and answers prepared for the inevitable interrogation about when I'd stop working and give them another grandchild. "Mommy, can I set up my new robot?" Dexter had asked earlier, bouncing on our guest bed with the energy only 6-year-olds possess on Christmas morning. "After breakfast, baby. Remember, we need to wait for everyone to open presents together." "Grandpa doesn't like my robots," Dexter said. Matter-of-factly, he said boys should play with sport stuff. My heart clenched. Even my son had noticed Vernon's disapproval. "Grandpa just doesn't understand technology like you do. That's your special talent." The truth was, I'd been the outsider from day one. Vernon had made that crystal clear at our rehearsal dinner 5 years ago when he'd pulled me aside during cocktail hour. "Colton was supposed to marry Judge Harrison's daughter," he'd said, swirling his scotch. "She's a corporate lawyer, comes from good stock, not some public school teacher from a town no one's heard of." I tried everything to win them over. I learned about wine despite preferring beer. I studied etiquette books to navigate their formal dinners. I bit my tongue when Loretta criticized my cooking, my decorating, my parenting. I smiled when Bridget made passive-aggressive comments about my quaint lifestyle and how lucky I was that Colton looked past my background. The previous night had actually given me hope. We'd arrived for the traditional Christmas Eve dinner, and something felt different. Vernon had actually asked Colton about his latest architectural project without immediately suggesting he should be working for a more prestigious firm. Loretta complimented my green bean casserole, though she made sure to mention it was surprisingly good for such a simple dish. During dinner, Dexter had shown Vernon his coding project on his old tablet, a simple program that made a cartoon cat dance. "I programmed it myself, Grandpa. Mrs. Chen at school says I'm advanced for my age." Vernon had actually smiled, not his usual condescending smirk, but something that looked almost genuine. "That's quite impressive, Dexter." Even Bridget had been less hostile than usual. She'd helped me clear the table without making a single comment about how I was loading the dishwasher wrong or how her housekeeper would have done it better. She'd even asked about my 3rd grade class, though I suspected it was more to confirm her belief that teaching was beneath the Brennan family status. Garrett had emerged from his usual cloud of indifference to ask about my brother who worked in tech. "Maybe he could give me some investment tips," Garrett had said, which was the closest thing to respect I'd ever gotten from him. Maybe they're finally accepting me. I'd whispered to Colton as we got ready for bed that night in the guest room that was bigger than our master bedroom at home. Colton had pulled me close, kissing my forehead with that tenderness that made me fall in love with him despite his family. Dad's been different lately, more careful around me, almost like he's walking on eggshells. Maybe he's finally realized we're not going anywhere. We're a family, whether he likes it or not. Colton had been quiet for a moment. He asked me yesterday if I was happy. He's never asked that before. "What did you tell him?" "The truth. That I'm happier than I've ever been. That you and Dexter are everything I ever wanted." How did he react? He just nodded and changed the subject to the stock market. Now, sitting in their living room on Christmas morning, watching Vernon pour his coffee from the silver service that had been in the family for 3 generations, I should have recognized the calm before the storm. Vernon kept checking his phone, his jaw tightening each time. Loretta was arranging and rearranging the presents under the tree with obsessive precision. Bridget kept shooting glances between her parents, sensing the tension I was too hopeful to acknowledge. The stage was set. The players were in position, and my 6-year-old son was about to bring down the curtain on the Brennan family theater. Everything exploded during gift exchange. We'd been passing around presents for 20 minutes, the living room floor covered in designer wrapping paper that Loretta would insist on folding and saving. Dexter had just finished unwrapping his gift from us, a kid-friendly tablet with educational apps and parental controls, when Vernon stood up so abruptly his coffee cup rattled on the marble side table. "This is exactly the problem," Vernon announced, his voice cutting through the Christmas music playing softly in the background. "You're poisoning my son against his real family." The room froze. Colton set down the watch he'd been admiring, a gift from his parents that probably cost more than our car. "Dad, what are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb with me, Colton. Ever since you married her," Vernon pointed at me like I was evidence in a courtroom, "you've pulled away from everything that matters. You missed the Harrison Charity Gala. You declined membership at the country club where 3 generations of Brennans have belonged. You even refused the promotion at Whitmore and Associates." "That promotion required moving to London," Colton said, his voice steady, but I could see his hands clenching. "We weren't going to uproot our entire life." "You mean she wasn't going to leave her little teaching job?" Vernon spat the words like they tasted bitter. $35,000 a year to babysit other people's children while you could have been making partner at the most prestigious firm in Europe. I felt my face burn. That little teaching job was my passion. Those other people's children were kids who needed someone to believe in them, many from backgrounds Vernon would consider beneath contempt. "My wife's career matters too," Colton said, standing now to face his father. "Career?" Bridget laughed from her spot by the fireplace. "Dad's right, Colton. She's changed you. You never visit anymore. Last Thanksgiving, you chose her family over ours. Mom had to explain to everyone at the club why her son wasn't at the family table." "Nadine's mother had just had cancer surgery," Colton protested. "She needed us there." "Excuses," Garrett chimed in from the leather couch where he'd been scrolling through his phone. "Face it, brother. She's got you completely wrapped around her finger. The old Colton would have never missed Dad's golf tournament to go to some public school science fair." My son was presenting his project. I finally spoke, my voice shaking with controlled anger. Colton wanted to be there for Dexter. Vernon turned his cold gray eyes on me. "And that's exactly the problem. You've made him soft, filled his head with this middle-class nonsense about participation trophies and feeling good about yourself. Brennan men are leaders, not followers. They don't sit in elementary school auditoriums clapping for volcano models." "Dexter won first place in the district," I said quietly. "He's 6 years old and already coding. Maybe if you paid attention to your grandson instead of trying to force him into your narrow definition of success, you'd see how special he is." The room went silent. I'd never talked back to Vernon before. Loretta, who'd been watching like a queen observing peasants quarrel, finally stood up from her chair. "Some women just destroy everything they touch," she said, her voice dripping with practiced condescension. "They isolate men from their families, make them weak, convince them that mediocrity is acceptable." She looked directly at me. "I've seen it before with my friends' sons. Common women who trap good men and drag them down to their level." "Common?" I stood up, my whole body trembling. "Is that what you think I am?" "If the shoe fits," Bridget muttered. "You know what?" "I'm done being polite," I said, looking at each of them. "I have tried for 5 years to be good enough for this family. I've endured your insults, your condescension, your constant reminders that I'm not worthy of Colton. But I love him, and he loves me. And we have a beautiful son who's brilliant and kind, even if he doesn't fit your country club mold." Vernon's face turned purple. "Get out! Pack your things and leave my house immediately. You're no longer welcome here, Nadine." He turned to Colton. "You can stay if you come to your senses. Choose your real family or this woman who's destroyed everything we built for you." "Dad, you can't be serious," Colton said, his voice dangerous now. "Dead serious. I've watched you throw away every opportunity, every connection, every advantage we gave you. All for what? A woman who will never understand our world? It's her or your family, son. Choose." The ultimatum hung in the air like a blade. Dexter pressed against my leg, his tablet clutched to his chest, his eyes wide as he watched his family tear itself apart on Christmas morning. I stood up, my hands shaking but my voice steady. "Dexter, honey, let's go pack our things." "But Mommy, what about showing them the thing I found?" "Not now, sweetheart." I took his small hand in mine, feeling the weight of 5 years of trying to belong somewhere I was never wanted. Colton grabbed my other hand, his grip firm and decisive. "We're leaving. Together, Dad. All 3 of us." "Then you're making the biggest mistake of your life," Vernon spat, his face still purple with rage. "You walk out that door with her and you're done. No inheritance, no family connections, no future at any firm I have influence with." "Fine," Colton said simply. "I'd rather build my own future than live in your shadow." Loretta gasped. "Colton, think about what you're saying. Your father built an empire for you. Everything we've done has been to secure your success." "No, Mom. Everything you've done has been to control me. There's a difference." As we headed toward the stairs, I heard Dexter's voice behind us, still innocent despite the chaos around him. "But Daddy, I really wanted to show Grandpa what I found when I was playing with the security app." Colton stopped mid-step. "What security app?" "The one on my tablet. Remember when we visited last month and Grandpa gave you the login for the house cameras? You put it on my old tablet to check if we left my robot here, but then you got me the new tablet and forgot to remove the app from the old one." My mind raced. Vernon had installed security cameras throughout the house last year after Bridget claimed some jewelry went missing during a party. He'd given Colton access during a business trip, paranoid about break-ins. "I've been using it to watch the birds at the feeder in their backyard," Dexter continued, his voice brightening at the chance to share his discovery. "Cardinals come every morning at 7:15, but there's other stuff too." "What kind of other stuff?" I asked carefully, kneeling down to his level. "Well, there was this lady who came over when Grandma was at her book club. She had pretty red hair and they went into Grandpa's bedroom. They were doing grown-up stuff." The blood drained from my face. I looked at Colton, whose expression had shifted from hurt to something darker. "Dexter," Colton said slowly, his architect's mind already putting pieces together. "When did you see this?" "Last Tuesday, and the Tuesday before, and the one before that. Always at 2 o'clock when Grandma goes to book club. I recorded some of it because I thought it was funny how they were jumping on the bed, but then I realized it was private stuff, so I stopped watching." "You recorded it?" Colton's voice was deadly calm. "Yeah, the app has a record button. I pressed it by accident the first time when I was trying to zoom in on a blue jay. The videos are saved in the cloud thingy." I stood up slowly, my mind reeling. Vernon, the man who'd just given a speech about family values and loyalty, who'd accused me of poisoning his son against his real family, had been having an affair in the very bed he shared with Loretta. "Show me," Colton said to Dexter. "Colton, maybe we should just leave," I said, but I could see the shift in his eyes. This wasn't about revenge, this was about truth. "No, Nadine, for 5 years, my father has tortured you, made you feel less than, accused you of destroying our family. He's made you cry more times than I can count. He's tried to make our son feel inadequate for not being the grandson he wanted. And the whole time he's been betraying my mother?" We walked back toward the living room and I could hear Vernon still ranting. "I gave that boy everything, the best schools, the best connections, and he throws it all away for some nobody teacher who probably got pregnant to trap him." "Actually, Dad," Colton said as we re-entered the room, "you should be more careful about what you say and what you do." Vernon spun around. "Changed your mind? Ready to apologize?" Number. But Dexter has something he'd like to share with everyone, something he found on your security system. "We don't have time for children's games," Vernon dismissed with a wave of his hand. "Oh, this isn't a game," Colton said, his voice like ice. "This is about truth. The kind of truth you seem to think you own but actually know nothing about." Dexter looked up at his grandfather, tablet in hand, his innocent face confused by the tension but eager to share his discovery. The room held its breath, waiting for what would come next. That's when Dexter, in his innocent 6-year-old voice, said the words that changed everything. "Grandpa, should I show everyone the videos from your bedroom camera? The ones with you and the lady with red hair." Vernon's face went from purple rage to ghostly white in less than a second. The transformation was so dramatic that Bridget actually stepped forward, probably thinking he was having a heart attack. Loretta's coffee cup crashed to the floor, the fine china shattering into pieces that scattered across the hardwood like broken promises. "What lady?" Loretta whispered, her voice barely audible. "The one who comes when you're at book club," Dexter said helpfully, completely unaware he was destroying a 35-year marriage. "She has pretty red hair and a butterfly tattoo on her shoulder. On Tuesdays, she comes at 2 o'clock and stays until 4. She drives a white Mercedes and parks in the garage so nobody can see." The specificity of his observations, delivered with the matter-of-fact tone only a child could manage, made it impossible to dismiss as imagination. Bridget gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Oh my God, Mrs. Waverly, Daphne Waverly, Dad's business partner's wife?" Vernon lunged for the tablet, his desperation pathetic. "Give me that device right now, you little brat!" But Colton intercepted him, pushing his father back with one firm hand to the chest. "Don't you dare call my son names, and don't you dare try to hide what you've done." "It's not what it looks like," Vernon stammered, the powerful banker reduced to cliches. "Then let's see what it looks like," Colton said, taking the tablet from Dexter. "Everyone should see exactly what kind of family values you really represent." He turned the tablet toward the room and pressed play. The video quality was crystal clear, Vernon's top-of-the-line security system working against him. For 10 seconds, the room watched in horrified silence as Vernon and Daphne Waverly engaged in activities that left no room for misinterpretation. Loretta's scream was primal, the sound of a woman watching her entire world shatter. She ran from the room, her heels clicking frantically on the marble floor of the foyer, before we heard a door slam upstairs. "Turn it off," Vernon begged, his commanding voice now reduced to a whimper. "Please, Colton, turn it off." Colton stopped the video but held onto the tablet. "How long, Dad? How long have you been sleeping with Daphne Waverly while preaching to me about loyalty?" "It doesn't matter," Vernon tried to regain his composure. "This is between your mother and me." "Like hell it is," Bridget exploded, tears streaming down her face. "Mom defended you for years. Every time someone mentioned seeing you with other women at conferences, at hotels, she said they were lying, that they were jealous of your success. She destroyed friendships defending your reputation." "Other women?" Garrett had finally put down his phone, his face pale. "This isn't the first time?" Vernon's silence was answer enough. "You accused my wife of poisoning me against family," Colton said, his voice deadly calm. "You called her a parasite, said she destroyed everything she touched. But you're the one who's been destroying this family from the inside. You're the poison, Dad." "You don't understand," Vernon started. "A man in my position has needs, has stress you couldn't comprehend." "Stop," Colton commanded, "and just stop. Don't you dare try to justify this. You stood here 15 minutes ago and tried to destroy my marriage while yours was built on lies." Dexter tugged on my sleeve, his voice small. "Mommy, did I do something bad?" I knelt down and pulled him close. "No, baby, you didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes the truth needs to come out, even when it hurts." "Is Grandma okay?" "She will be," I said, though I wasn't sure if that was true. Garrett stood up, his face twisted with disgust. "I need to check on Mom." He looked at his father with contempt. "You're pathetic. All those lectures about maintaining the Brennan reputation, about honor and legacy. You're nothing but a hypocrite and a liar." As Garrett left, Bridget turned to me, mascara running down her cheeks. "Nadine, I'm so sorry. We blamed you for everything, but it was him all along. He was projecting his own guilt onto you." Vernon stood alone in the center of his grand living room, surrounded by the ruins of his carefully constructed life. The portrait of him with the governor seemed to mock him from the wall. His empire built on respect and family values had crumbled in the hands of a 6-year-old with a tablet. "We're leaving now," Colton announced. "And Dad, don't ever contact us again." We packed in silence while the house erupted in chaos below. Loretta's sobs echoed through the walls, raw and broken, the sound of 35 years of marriage dissolving. Bridget was on the phone with someone, her voice sharp and professional. I caught fragments: emergency divorce consultation, and hidden assets, and Daphne Waverly. Garrett was yelling at Vernon about trust funds and forged signatures, apparently discovering that his father's betrayals went beyond just adultery. As we loaded the car, the December cold biting through my coat, Loretta appeared at the front door. Her perfect makeup was destroyed, mascara creating dark rivers down her cheeks, her usually pristine hair disheveled. She looked smaller somehow, like the revelation had physically diminished her. "Nadine, wait!" I tensed, expecting one final attack, one last attempt to blame me for their family's destruction. "I'm sorry," she said quietly, her voice hoarse from crying. "For everything, for every snide comment, every time I made you feel unwelcome, every moment I chose to believe Vernon's lies about you being the problem. He convinced me you were destroying our family, but he was the destroyer all along. Loretta, I never wanted this to happen. I know, and that makes my treatment of you even worse. You tried so hard to be part of this family, while I did everything to push you away. And Dexter?" She knelt down to his level, her expensive dress touching the wet driveway. "Thank you for showing me the truth, sweetheart, even if you didn't mean to." "Are you mad at me, Grandma?" Dexter asked, his small voice worried. "No, precious boy, I'm mad at Grandpa, but never at you. You're the bravest person in our entire family." 3 months later, Loretta's divorce was finalized. She got the house, half of Vernon's retirement, the vacation home in Aspen, and something more valuable than any monetary settlement: her dignity back. The woman who once spent her days at the country club gossiping about other people's failures was now taking pottery classes at the community center. She started joining us for Sunday dinners, and slowly, meal by meal, we built the relationship we never had before. She'd bring dessert and play robots with Dexter, genuinely interested in his coding projects. "You know," she told me one evening while we watched Dexter teach her how to program, "I spent so many years trying to force him into a mold that I never saw how extraordinary he already was." Vernon moved in with Garrett temporarily, but that arrangement lasted exactly 2 weeks. Garrett discovered Vernon had been draining his trust fund for years, using it to fund his affairs and pay for Daphne Waverly's shopping sprees. The money meant for Garrett's future had been spent on hotel rooms and jewelry for a woman who wasn't his mother. Garrett kicked him out and filed charges for fraud. Bridget went to therapy and finally understood why her marriage had failed 3 years ago. "I married a man, just like Dad," she told me over coffee. One afternoon. "Controlling, condescending, unfaithful. I accepted it because I thought that's what powerful men did. Dad normalized it for me." She was working on herself now, and we were slowly becoming actual sisters-in-law instead of adversaries. "You know what the ironic part is?" Colton said one evening as we watched Dexter play with his new robot kit, the one Loretta had bought him for his 7th birthday. "Dad always said you'd destroy our family." "And," I asked, though I already knew where he was going, "you didn't destroy it. You revealed it was already broken. The foundation was rotten, built on lies and hypocrisy. Sometimes destruction is necessary for rebuilding." Dexter looked up from his robot. "Daddy, can I still use the security app?" "No, buddy. We're going to stick to apps that are meant for kids from now on." "Okay, but I'm glad I found those videos." Grandma smiles more now. Real smiles, not the fake ones she used to do. He was right. Loretta did smile more. She'd started painting again, something Vernon had called a waste of time for decades. She traveled to Greece with her sister, sending us postcards from Santorini. She even started dating a kind widower from her book club, a retired literature professor who brought her flowers and read poetry to her. As for Vernon, the last I heard, Daphne Waverly's husband divorced her and sued Vernon for alienation of affection. Vernon lost his country club membership when the affair became public. His business partners distanced themselves. The man who'd accused me of poisoning his son against family had successfully poisoned himself against everyone who'd ever loved him. He lived alone in a downtown apartment, sending emails Colton never opened and leaving voicemails we never returned. That Christmas morning, my 6-year-old son accidentally taught us all a profound lesson. The truth doesn't destroy families. Lies do. And sometimes, the people pointing fingers are just trying to distract you from what their other hand is doing. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been made to feel like you don't belong or been blamed for problems you didn't create, please hit that like button and share this video. Your story matters, and sometimes it takes the innocent eyes of a child to reveal what adults choose to ignore. Comment below with your own experiences, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories about truth, family, and finding where you really belong.